When Obianuju vanished, the village said the river swallowed her. But the truth was darker. Her best friend slept in her bed, wore her clothes, and called her name. Until one night, the dead came back to knock on her door. At the very center of the village in Umuahia stood a massive baobab tree, its branches so wide that children often said it held the sky on its shoulders. Beneath this tree, stories were told, judgments were made, and friendships were sealed. It was here that two little girls first began their journey as sisters in all but blood. Their names were Nnenna and Obianuju. From their first steps, they were inseparable. If Obianuju fetched water, Nnenna carried a second pot. If Nnenna was beaten for mischief, Obianuju would sneak food to her. Their laughter often echoed louder than the birds at dawn. As they grew older, their bond seemed unbreakable. Together, they learned the songs of their mothers, the farming secrets of their fathers, and the dances of the festivals. Villagers would smile and say, "See those two. Even the moon and the sun are not so close." But though the world saw harmony, inside Nnenna's heart, a seed of envy was quietly sprouting. For Obianuju was blessed in many ways. She had a smile that softened even the hardest hearts. Her farm thrived, yams grew fatter in her soil, and her goats birthed healthy kids year after year. Suitors brought gifts to her family's compound, each one hoping to win her hand. When she walked through the village, children ran to her, and elders blessed her steps. Nnenna, though loved, often found herself compared to her friend. She worked hard but never matched Obianuju's success. The villagers never intended cruelty, but their words stung. "Obianuju's farm flourishes again this year." Or, "Nnenna, you must ask your friend for her secret." At first, Nnenna laughed it off, but inside, resentment coiled like a snake warming itself by the fire. And one evening, as the two friends sat beneath the baobab tree, watching the sun sink into the horizon, Nnenna's gaze lingered on Obianuju's radiant face. The smile that once brought her joy now stirred something darker. She whispered to herself, words too soft for anyone else to hear. "Why must our light always outshine mine?" That night, the first shadow of betrayal fell across their friendship. The next planting season arrived with the smell of rain-soaked earth and the chatter of farmers readying their tools. As was their tradition, Nnenna and Obianuju planted side by side, their hoes striking the ground in rhythm, their laughter carried by the wind. But when harvest time came, it was Obianuju's farm that yielded the richest bounty. Her yams were thick as drum logs, her maize stood tall, and her granaries overflowed. Villagers praised her hard work and blessed her family. Meanwhile, Nnenna's harvest, though decent, paled in comparison. Her yams were smaller, her crops fewer. Some of her cassava stalks had withered before ripening. She forced a smile when villagers admired Obianuju's harvest, but in her chest, the snake of envy coiled tighter. At the market, the whispers began. "Have you seen Obianuju's harvest? The gods truly favor her. She and Nnenna planted together, yet look at the difference." Though Obianuju, in her kindness, shared her surplus with Nnenna, the gift felt like an insult. Each yam handed to her seemed to whisper, "You are less." One evening, after a long day at the market, the two friends sat together weaving baskets. The moon cast silver light upon them. Obianuju spoke softly, "Nnenna, tomorrow I will show you how I mix ash into the soil to make the yams strong. Perhaps it will help your farm." Her voice carried only love, but Nnenna's ears heard condescension. Her heart fled. "So now she thinks I am her pupil," she thought bitterly. That same week, the village drummers came to Obianuju's compound. A young man from the neighboring clan had brought palm wine and kola nuts to declare his intention to marry her. The suitors' gifts overflowed, fine wrappers, a goat, and jars of honey. The air buzzed with excitement. Nnenna stood among the women, clapping and singing, her face painted with false joy. But her heart burned like dry grass under fire. She noticed the admiring eyes of the villagers, the proud smiles of Obianuju's parents, and the suitors' gaze fixed only on her friend. That night, Nnenna lay awake. She stared at the cracked ceiling of her hut, her chest heavy. She whispered into the darkness, "Why must it always be her? Why not me?" In the silence, she thought she heard the hiss of a snake nearby. She shivered but did not move. Unknown to her, it was not a real snake, but the serpent of envy tightening its grip. And so, though the two friends still laughed together by day, shadows had begun to gather between them. The villagers could not see it yet, but the bond that once seemed unbreakable now carried its first cracks. The river that cut through Umuahia was a place of both life and mystery. Its waters quenched thirst, nourished farms, and provided fish for the villagers. But it was also where secrets were whispered and spirits were said to dwell. Children were warned never to wander there alone after dusk, for the river kept the voices of the ancestors. One evening, as the sun bled orange across the horizon, Nnenna sat alone by the river bank. Her feet dangled in the cool water, but her heart burned with restless thoughts. She had just come from Obianuju's home, where the suitor from the neighboring clan had again showered her friend with gifts, this time bringing a pair of fat rams. The whole village had gathered, singing praises of Obianuju's fortune. Nnenna had clapped along, but every drumbeat had pounded like a hammer inside her skull. Even the gods seemed to smile only on her, she muttered bitterly. As she sat by the river, her reflection rippled on the water's surface. For a fleeting moment, she thought she saw not her own face, but Obianuju's, smiling, glowing, blessed. Envy surged through her like fire. She picked up a stone and hurled it into the water, shattering the image. It was then she heard it, a faint whisper riding the wind. Why suffer in her shadow? Take what should be yours. Nnenna stiffened. She looked around, but no one was there. Only the rustle of reeds and the soft hum of the river. She tried to dismiss it as her imagination, but the words clung to her like a stubborn leech. Over the following days, she returned again and again to the river, drawn as though by an unseen hand. Each time, the whispers grew clearer. Sometimes they came from the reeds, sometimes from the water, sometimes from deep within her own chest. Her home could be your home. Her wealth could be your wealth. One life must fall for another to rise. The more Nnenna listened, the more the whispers sank into her soul. She began to avoid Obianuju's laughter, for it now sounded like mockery. She stared at her friend's compound not with love, but with yearning. One night, unable to sleep, Nnenna rose from her mat and walked outside. The moon was high, painting the village in silver. She found herself standing before Obianuju's gate, her fingers brushing the wooden frame. Inside, her friend slept peacefully, her home filled with abundance. Nnenna's eyes glistened. For the first time, a thought crossed her mind that made her shudder, yet she did not push it away. If Obianuju were gone, everything could be mine. She turned away quickly, her heart pounding. But as she walked back into the shadows, the whispers followed her. The Festival of Masks was the grandest celebration in Umuahia. Once every year, the villagers gathered to honor the spirits of their ancestors with drumming, dancing, feasting, and brightly painted masquerades that filled the night with both fear and wonder. It was said that during the festival, the ancestors walked among the living, watching, listening, and blessing or condemning those whose hearts strayed. That year, excitement buzzed through the village like bees in a hive. Women pounded yam and prepared spicy soups. Men carved new masks and sharpened their drums. Children ran about with painted faces, their laughter like flutes. Obianuju was at the center of it all. Her suitor had promised to attend the festival with his kin, bringing gifts for her family. She wore a wrapper of deep indigo, embroidered with golden thread, and cowries jingled in her braided hair. Her beauty drew admiring glances from all corners of the square. Nnenna, standing at her side, wore her own wrapper and beads, but beside Obianuju's radiance, she felt like a shadow. Villagers praised Obianuju again and again. Oh! See how the ancestors favor this child. Her household will prosper for generations. Each word struck Nnenna like a slap. She forced her lips into a smile, but her heart churned with bitterness. She thought of the whispers by the river, of the promise that all this could be hers if she dared to act. As night fell, the drums thundered and the masquerades emerged, towering figures with carved wooden faces, raffia skirts, and masks painted in red, black, and white. They danced with the strength of spirits, leaping into the air, spinning until dust rose in clouds. Children squealed and clung to their mothers. Elders clapped in rhythm. Obianuju laughed as she danced with the crowd, her feet moving gracefully, her voice rising in song. Nnenna danced too, but her eyes never left her friend. In the flickering torchlight, Obianuju seemed almost otherworldly, glowing with life. It was then that a masked dancer broke away from the circle and stood before Nnenna. His mask was painted black, with sharp white teeth. He pointed a finger at her and shook his head slowly. The crowd laughed, thinking it part of the performance. But Nnenna froze. For in that moment, she swore she heard a voice, not from the dancer, but from the mask itself. "Your thoughts are dark. The ancestors are watching." Her knees trembled. She turned her eyes away, but the warning echoed in her skull. Yet even as fear gripped her, another voice, soft, slithering, familiar, whispered in her mind. "Do not fear. They cannot stop you. Her place is meant to be yours." The festival carried on until dawn, with feasting and merriment. To the villagers, it was a night of joy. To Obianuju, it was a night of blessings. But to Nnenna, it was a night of decision. The warnings of the ancestors clashed with the whispers of envy, and deep inside her, the whispers began to win. The festival had ended, but its echoes lingered in the village. Songs from that night were still hummed by women as they pounded yam, and children still mimicked the wild dances of the masquerades. For Obianuju, the joy of the festival lingered too. Her suitor had promised to send elders for the marriage rites before the next moon. Her laughter grew brighter, her steps lighter. But in Nnenna's heart, joy had turned to ash. She replayed the masquerade's warning in her mind, "The ancestors are watching." Yet each time the memory came, the whispers from the river slithered in to drown it out. "Do not fear. The ancestors only watch, they do not act. Take what you desire." Nnenna began to change. At first, it was subtle. She visited Obianuju less often, claiming to be busy with her farm. When she did come, her smiles were thinner, her laughter hollow. Obianuju, ever trusting, noticed nothing. She would clasp Nnenna's hand warmly and say, "My sister, you are quiet these days. Is something troubling you?" Nnenna would shake her head and force a smile, but her thoughts whispered, "If only you knew." At night, she lay awake on her raffia mat, her mind restless. The image of Obianuju's full granary, her beautiful clothes, her suitor's gifts, everything spun in her head like a taunting dance. Sleep abandoned her. Instead, she began to imagine what life would be like if she lived in Obianuju's house, wore her clothes, and received her praises. It was during one of these sleepless nights that the thought of poison came to her. She remembered stories of women who mixed deadly herbs into food, of hunters who tipped their arrows with tree saps that killed animals instantly. She recalled the dark herbs that grew by the riverbank, plants no one touched, for they were said to carry curses. The thought scared her at first, and she covered her head with her wrapper as though to hide from it. But the idea returned the next night. And the next. Until finally, the fear dulled, and the thought became a plan. One afternoon, while pretending to fetch firewood, Nnenna wandered to the riverbank. There, half hidden among the reeds, grew the cursed herbs, blackened leaves with a bitter smell. She plucked a handful, her hands trembling. For a moment, she thought she heard the river sigh deeply, as though warning her. She hesitated, but then shoved the herbs into her basket and hurried home. That evening, as she dried the leaves by the fire, she told herself, "It is not evil. It is survival. The world has chosen her for greatness, and forgotten me. I will take what is mine." The flames crackled, the leaves curled and darkened, and the air filled with a sharp, acrid scent. Nnenna closed her eyes and whispered a vow to herself. "Before the next moon, Obianuju's life will be mine." Outside her heart, the night was calm. But in the shadows, unseen by mortal eyes, the spirit stirred uneasily. The moon hung low over Umuahia, swollen and red like an eye that had seen too much. The air was thick, heavy, and still, the kind of night when even the crickets dared not sing. It was on this night that Nnenna's heart, hardened by envy and sharpened by whispers, guided her to betrayal. Earlier that day, she had crushed the dried herbs she gathered from the riverbank into a fine, bitter powder. She hid it in a small gourd, which she tied carefully with palm fronds and tucked beneath her wrapper. Each step she took, she felt its weight against her skin, a burden and a promise. Obianuju had invited her for supper, as she often did. The friendship between them, though strained by unseen shadows, still appeared unbroken to the village. Obianuju's mother had prepared a pot of rich palm nut soup with chunks of goat meat, the aroma wafting through the compound. When Nnenna arrived, Obianuju embraced her warmly. "My sister. You have grown so scarce these days. I feared the earth itself had swallowed you." Nnenna forced a laugh. "Oh, my farm has kept me busy. Tonight, I wanted only to sit with you." They ate together beneath the glow of an oil lamp. The laughter, the stories, the clinking of calabash cups, it was almost as it had always been. For a fleeting moment, Nnenna felt a pang of doubt. She looked at Obianuju's smiling face and remembered the little girl who once shared roasted yams with her under the baobab tree. But then she saw the coral beads around Obianuju's neck, the suitor's gift. She saw the fine wrappers folded neatly on a stool, the glow of prosperity in every corner of the home. The snake of envy hissed louder, drowning out her moment of hesitation. When Obianuju excused herself to fetch more palm wine, Nnenna's hand moved quickly. She untied the small gourd hidden under her wrapper, tipped it over the pot of soup, and stirred until the bitter powder vanished into the red broth. Her fingers trembled, her chest pounded, but she forced herself still. Moments later, Obianuju returned, smiling, carrying the calabash of wine. They ate again, unaware that death now floated in the soup. Nnenna watched closely, her eyes fixed on her friend's every mouthful. Then, the moment came. Obianuju lifted a piece of goat meat to her lips, chewed, and swallowed. At first, nothing. Then her smile faltered. She pressed a hand to her chest. Her eyes widened in confusion, then fear. The calabash slipped from her hand, spilling wine across the floor. "Nnenna. I do not feel." Her words broke into a gasp. She staggered, clutching her throat, her body convulsing. The oil lamp flickered wildly as though the ancestors themselves had blown upon it. Nnenna rushed forward, catching her friend as she collapsed, but her heart was not moved by pity. Instead, she whispered into Obianuju's fading ear. "Do not worry, my sister. I will take care of your home." A final breath escaped Obianuju's lips. Her body stilled. Her eyes, wide and unblinking, seemed to stare beyond Nnenna, at something only the dead could see. For a long time, Nnenna sat frozen, the weight of what she had done pressing upon her. The night was silent, save for the faint gurgle of the soup pot still boiling. Then she rose slowly, dragged her friend's lifeless body outside, and toward the river. The moon bore witness as she cast Obianuju into the dark waters. The ripples spread outward, carrying her away. But as the body sank, a strange sound echoed across the river, a low hum, soft at first, then rising like a song. "Who sleeps in my home? Who eats from my plate? Justice shall rise with the dawn." Nnenna staggered back, her heart thudding. She shook her head fiercely. "It is only the wind, only the wind." She turned and walked back toward the village. Behind her, the river hummed on, its song carrying into the night. The morning after Obianuju's death, the village awoke to a strange silence. The birds still sang, the rooster still crowed, but something in the air felt heavy, unsettled. By midday, word spread quickly, Obianuju was missing. Her parents searched the compound, calling her name. Her suitor sent messengers across the footpaths leading to neighboring villages. Children combed the forest, while women gathered by the riverbank, clapping their hands and calling. "Obianuju. Daughter of the soil, where are you?" But there was no answer. Only the gurgling of the river. Nnenna joined the search, her face painted with grief. She wailed loudly, tore at her wrapper, and cried, "My sister is gone. My heart is broken." The villagers pitied her, believing her tears were genuine. None suspected that beneath her cries, her heart pulsed with fear, fear of discovery, fear of the river's whispers. That night, as the villagers mourned, Nnenna returned alone to the home that once belonged to her friend. She lit a lamp and sat among Obianuju's belongings, her eyes roaming greedily over the fine wrappers, the coral beads, the jars of honey. Her lips curled into a smile. "At last," she whispered. "Her life has become mine." But just as she leaned back, satisfied, she heard it. A faint sound drifted through the window, the voice of the river. At first, it was like a hum, but soon it took form. Who sleeps in my home? Who eats from my plate? Justice shall rise with the dawn. Nnenna froze. Her lamp flickered as though the flame itself was afraid. She pressed her hands over her ears, but the song grew louder, weaving through her bones. Her heart raced. She leapt up, spilling the lamp, plunging the room into darkness. The next day, the villagers gathered again at the river to pour libations and ask the ancestors for guidance. The women stood barefoot in the water, shaking rattles and chanting. As they sang, the calabash they had placed on the river's surface began to drift against the current, as if moved by an unseen hand. The people gasped. Elders muttered, "The river is not at peace." That night, the song came again. Louder. Clearer. This time, the villagers heard it too. A group of children ran screaming through the village square, saying they had heard a woman's voice floating from the river. Elders listened carefully, and though the words were faint, they carried sorrow and fury. "Her spirit does not rest," one old woman whispered. "The river holds the truth." Nnenna trembled in secret. She shut her windows tight, stuffed her ears with cloth, but nothing silenced the haunting melody. Even in her dreams, she heard it. She saw Obianuju's face, pale and dripping with river water, her eyes fixed on her. By the third night, Nnenna could no longer sleep. Her eyes were sunken, her hands shook, and her once proud smile had withered. Yet still, she told herself, no one will know. No one will ever know. But the river knew. The ancestors knew. And Obianuju's voice was growing stronger. The river's song did not fade. Night after night, it grew louder, weaving itself into the life of the village. At first, only a few claimed to hear it. But soon, no one could deny it. The voice drifted through the air at dusk, mournful yet accusing. "Who sleeps in my home? Who eats from my plate? Justice shall rise with the dawn." Children clung to their mothers, refusing to walk near the river. Goats bleated and refused to drink from its waters. Even the strongest men avoided its banks after sunset. The villagers were troubled. They believed that Obianuju's spirit was restless, that she had been wronged, and the river carried her cry for justice. The council of elders was summoned beneath the great baobab tree, their grey beards shining in the firelight, their faces grave. The oldest among them, Elder Okri, spoke. "The ancestors do not lie. A life has been taken unjustly. The river is their messenger. Until truth is spoken, peace will not return to our village." The villagers nodded solemnly. They poured libations of palm wine at the foot of the tree, calling on the spirits to reveal the guilty. Nnenna sat among the crowd, her head bowed, her hands trembling in her lap. Every word struck her heart like a drumbeat. Yet she forced tears to her eyes and cried louder than the rest, "Obianuju, my sister, my heart breaks. Who has done this evil to you?" Some villagers placed their hands on her shoulders, comforting her. "Oh, poor Nnenna, she suffers the most. To lose her closest friend in such a way." But one pair of eyes did not believe her. Elder Okori's sharp gaze lingered on her face. He saw the twitch of her lips, the restlessness of her hands, the way her eyes darted like a trapped bird. He said nothing then, but in his heart, suspicion was planted. That night, the elders gathered again, this time in secret. They carried kola nuts, bitter leaves, and cowries, casting them upon a white cloth as they invoked the spirits for answers. The pattern of the divination shells was clear, betrayal by a trusted hand. Elder Okuri rose, his voice heavy with certainty. "The killer walks among us. She eats with us, she sleeps among us, and she thinks her secret is hidden. But the ancestors do not sleep. Soon, her mask will fall." The next morning, the elders went from compound to compound, warning the villagers to remain vigilant. They spoke loudly so that all could hear. "Whoever carries blood on their hands should confess, for the wrath of the ancestors is near. The earth does not keep silent when it drinks innocent blood." Nnenna heard the warning, and her heart pounded. That night, the river's song came again, but this time, it was closer. She heard it not outside, but inside Obianuju's home where she now slept. The voice seemed to rise from the very walls, echoing through the rooms. Who sleeps in my home? Who eats from my plate? Justice shall rise with the dawn. She clutched her ears, trembling violently, whispering to herself, "It is only a dream, only a dream." But deep inside, she knew it was not a dream. The ancestors had spoken, and their gaze was fixed on her. The days passed, but the village did not return to peace. The river sang each night, louder and clearer, until even the deaf claimed to feel its vibrations in their bones. Mothers covered their children's ears, yet the song pierced through walls, through sleep, through silence. Elders declared that the harvest festival must be held early. They believed only the presence of the ancestors could reveal the guilty and cleanse the village. Drums were beaten, fires lit, and the people gathered in the square beneath the watchful baobab tree. The masquerades emerged again, towering and fierce, their masks gleaming in the torchlight. They leapt and spun, their rattles shaking, their steps echoing like thunder. The people clapped and sang, but beneath their joy lingered unease. They knew the night carried judgment. Nnenna sat at the edge of the crowd, her wrapper tight around her trembling body. She clapped her hands, but her palms were cold. Sweat ran down her temples though the night breeze was cool. She felt eyes upon her, some human, some not. Then, it happened. The drum slowed. The masquerades froze mid-dance. A chill swept through the square, snuffing out half the torches in an instant. The crowd gasped. The air grew thick, heavy, as if the very earth was holding its breath. From the darkness came the sound, the song of the river. But this time, it was no longer distant. It rose within the square, carried by a voice that chilled every spine. Who sleeps in my home? Who eats from my plate? Justice shall rise with the dawn. And there she was. Obianuju. Her form glided into the torchlight, her body dripping with river water, her eyes glowing like embers. The beads she once wore clung to her neck, glistening, yet heavy with mud. Her voice echoed with sorrow and fire. The villagers screamed, some falling to the ground, some fleeing. But the elders stood firm, raising their staffs. Elder Okori stepped forward and bowed deeply. Daughter of the soil, speak. Show us the truth, so the earth may be at peace. Obianuju's spirit lifted her hand and pointed. Slowly, deliberately, her finger found Nnenna. The crowd gasped. Nnenna's heart leapt into her throat. She stumbled back, shaking her head wildly. No. No. Do not look at me. I did nothing. But Obianuju's voice rang out, echoing through the square, undeniable. She is the hand that betrayed me. She shared my laughter, but poisoned my meal. She called me sister, yet cast me into the river. The crowd erupted in wails of horror. Mothers covered their children's faces. Men shouted in anger. The masquerades pounded their feet, their masks shaking in fury. Nnenna collapsed to her knees, trembling, her wrapper slipping from her shoulder. Her voice cracked. No, my sister, listen. I only wanted what you had. I was tired of living in your shadow. But before she could finish, the ground trembled. The torches flared high, as if the ancestors themselves had leaned close. Obianuju's spirit let out a piercing cry that echoed across the valley. The sound was so sharp, so sorrowful, that the villagers covered their ears and fell prostrate. When the cry ended, Obianuju's form began to fade, dissolving back into mist and water. But her final words lingered in the air. The earth does not forget. The river does not keep secrets. Betrayal will always return to its owner. And then she was gone. The silence that followed was heavier than iron. All eyes turned to Nnenna. She knelt trembling, her face wet with tears, not of sorrow, but of terror. The elders lifted their staffs. Elder Okori's voice cut through the night like a blade. Nnenna, daughter of Umwahia, you have spilled innocent blood. By the law of our fathers and the will of the ancestors, you are condemned. The square was silent, save for the sound of Nnenna's sobbing. She knelt before the whole village, her hands trembling, her face streaked with tears and dust. The same people who once called her sister to Obianuju now looked upon her with eyes full of disgust and fear. The elders stood tall beneath the great baobab, their staffs raised high. Elder Okori's voice rang out, steady as a drumbeat. The gods have spoken. The river has revealed. Nnenna, you poisoned your friend and betrayed your sister. Such a hand cannot dwell among us. The villagers murmured, some weeping, others cursing. Obianuju's parents collapsed onto the earth, wailing in grief. Her suitor tore his wrapper and poured sand over his head. Nnenna crawled forward on her knees, her voice hoarse. Please, forgive me. I was blinded by envy. I only wanted to taste her blessings. I did not mean. But the elders silenced her with a raised hand. Elder Okori shook his head. Envy is a fire that consumes even its bearer. You sought what was not yours, and in doing so, you invited death into your own soul. The earth cannot harbor you. From this night, you are banished to the evil forest, where no man dwells, where the spirits wander without peace. A collective gasp rose from the villagers. The evil forest was feared above all. It was said to be a place where the restless dead roamed, where no bird sang, where no seed ever sprouted. To be banished there was worse than death. Nnenna screamed. She clutched at the elders' feet, but they stepped back, unmoved. The masquerades advanced, their rattles shaking, their masks glaring down at her. With long sticks, they drove her from the square, chanting. Blood calls for blood, betrayal calls for banishment. The villagers followed, carrying torches, their voices rising in condemnation. Children hurled stones, women spat, men beat the ground with sticks. Nnenna stumbled, crying out, but none pitied her now. At the edge of the evil forest, the elders stopped. They raised their staffs once more. Here your journey ends, Elder Okori declared. The ancestors will judge you as they see fit. May your cries remind all who hear them, betrayal has no reward. The masquerades pushed her forward. Nnenna fell into the darkness of the forest, her screams echoing long after her figure was swallowed by the trees. The villagers returned in silence, their torches flickering. The river no longer sang that night. The air was calm. The earth was at peace. And so the elders taught the children of Umuahia. Envy is a sickness that blinds the eyes. A friend who betrays is worse than an enemy. The river may hide a body, but it cannot hide the truth. The ancestors see, the earth remembers, and justice will always rise with the dawn. We have seen how envy can destroy even the strongest of bonds. Tell me, what lesson do you learn from this tale? Share your thoughts in the comments, for the ancestors love a wise tongue. If this story touched your heart, tap the like button so that others may hear it too. And do not forget to subscribe, so you may sit again at the fireside, where more tales of our land await you.